Pichu is worse than you think in Smash Ultimate. Over the course of the game's history, opinions about characters have changed after new tournament results, patches, and characters introduced. Pikachu and Inkling were initially perceived as the game's best characters. However, as the meta developed, people soon realized this wasn't entirely true. On the other hand, Ice Climbers started out having very few results, and were generally thought to be weaker compared to their previous appearances in Melee and Brawl. This was until Big D began producing great results, and demonstrated the strengths of his character. And then, there's Pichu. Now, you may be thinking, what makes Pichu different? He was a top tier at the beginning of the game, then moved down the tier list, like Pikachu and Inkling. And yeah, you'd be correct. However, not only was his placing in early Ultimate inaccurate, I believe that his current placing, and the sentiment players have towards Pichu, is still very misunderstood. Currently, on the official Smash Bros. Tier list, Pichu sits in upper mid-tier, and on the game's most recent patch, Void, Pichu's most prominent representation, and Zachary, one of the best players in Japan, ranked him as a near top-tier character. But before we can break down exactly why people have misunderstood Pichu's strength, let's talk about how these opinions formed in the first place. The history of Pichu began with very solid results, most notably Void's second place finish at Genesis 6. This led to Pichu being viewed as a high tier, or even top tier. His combos were pretty simple to execute, and Up Throw Thunder was a reliable kill confirmed at a wide range of percents. Even if players didn't have the execution to utilize this, Forward Tilt was an extremely powerful move at ledge, and could be used to close out stocks. The game had just released, so defensive play, which is what Pichu struggles against as a rushdown character, was rare and underdeveloped. But then everything changed when Sakurai attacked. In patch 3.00, hurtbox shifting for his aerials were reduced, and hit stun animations were changed, making Pichu easier to hit. However, the most devastating nerfs were in patch 3.1. Pichu's model increased in size. His F-tilt kills way later than it used to, and his electric moves gained more self-damage. The general consensus was that Pichu was no longer a top tier, maybe a mid tier. This was the weakest Pichu was as a character, and his lowest point in the game's meta. Ever since these nerfs, players rarely played as or against Pichu. For nearly 2 years, this character remained untouched, until patch 11.00, which reverted the self-damage changes in patch 3.1. Pichu's up B now does less damage than before the nerfs! In the public's eyes, Pichu went from top tier to mid tier, then got some buffs. However, a lack of knowledge and experience on the character's weaknesses and limitations is what led most to believe that Pichu was still an uncommon, yet strong character.
I was born with glass bones and paper skin. Oh, no!
People think that the nerfs were a large factor for Pichu's weakness as a character, and to some extent, that's true. But what if I told you that Pichu's weakness was inside him all along? Aspects of his character that remained the same since the start of the game. Let's start off with the easiest weakness, Pichu's weight. Being the lightest means that, on average, Pichu has less chances to get hit per stock before dying than other characters. This is exacerbated by Pichu's self-damaging moves, but there is another attribute about Pichu that is rarely mentioned, but is a defining weakness for the character: his air drift. Pichu has horrible air drift. And while other characters can zoom around like jet engines across the stage, Pichu takes forever to move in the air. And this makes every stage of the game harder for Pichu. He can't chase down opponents. He can't drift away from opponents. So Pichu has to resort to ledge. And oh my god, don't even get me started. Pichu's moves are not the greatest. Even ignoring the self-damage, they have limited range and only his electric moves do decent damage. Pichu falls like a rock in the air, so he can't auto-cancel his aerials. Coupled with his slow air drift, Pichu is awfully prone to defensive play and camping. Up B doesn't have any hitbox and can't really be used consistently on stage because of its lag, and side B has no hitbox above it, so edgeguarding Pichu is a lot easier than it looks. Two-framing Pichu is also really simple because Pichu fittingly has the head the size of a newborn child. It sticks right above ledge during his ledge grab animation. So, let's run through that again, shall we? Pichu's moves are extremely committal because of his poor air drift and his inability to auto-cancel his stubby little aerials, which usually means that one loss in neutral puts him at disadvantage because of his light weight, which means he has to resort to ledge because of his poor air drift, which means he's at risk of dying to a 2-frame down smash because of his increased model size and poor ledge grab animation. Dying at 40% because he's the lightest in the game, which is actually 38% because his up B does damage to him. This character sucks!
But even given all this information, some would argue that, regardless of these flaws, Pichu is small and hard to hit, has insane combos, and can kill at extremely early percents. The glass cannon argument. Again, if you know the matchup and can capitalize on Pichu's flaws, Pichu is more like a glass gun, or just glass for that matter. Pichu's combos do around 40%, maybe 50%. His damage output is not worth the recoil, when most characters' easiest combos do around the same, if not more. Then he has to chase them down with his small hitboxes and poor air trips. This is also the reason why his edge guarding is not as good as it seems. Opponents can easily get a reversal, putting Pichu at risk to edge guards and 2 frames himself. The up throw thunder kill confirmed is not even guaranteed on a majority of the cast. Characters with a 3-frame air dodge can escape if they DI behind Pichu, because his dash back adds an extra frame, making the combo untrue. How unfortunate. Characters with a 2-frame air dodge can just mash and escape in either direction. It's even worse for lightning loops. They are not true at all. You can usually air dodge and mash out of them. Thunder can kill at 0% if you aren't paying attention, but you can counter hit Pichu if you properly air dodge or avoid the attack. Even if you hit the Thundercloud hitbox, it can just straight up miss or not connect because of a platform. If you know how to DI Pichu's moves and combos, you won't get hit by all of his cheese. Up air thunder? Well, all you have to do is DI the final up air away, and you live. Back air? Pichu's back air has really high set knockback, so even though it can kill at ridiculously early percents near ledge, you can survive if you know how to position yourself properly. I've seen way too many fake kill screens for this move.
He's dead! He's dead!
Similar to the rat he is, Pichu relies on cheese in order to survive in bracket. Pichu is way too inconsistent. He's the lightest character in the game, combined with self-damage. He has poor mobility, poor matchup spread, poor disadvantage, high skill floor, poor disadvantage. I said that twice. And a reliance on opponents not knowing the matchup. This doesn't mean you have to drop Pichu if you main him, or even agree with me. Feel free to disagree. After all, tier lists are just a construct of human perception. I came to this conclusion after years of experience with a Pichu expert, my brother Jintis. So big thanks to him for educating me and expressing his opinions to me over the years. If you like this video, check out this one right here. And, oh, please subscribe.